Shalom. Welcome to our directed Hebrew immersion class for the khetuvim, the writings. Today we will be continuing with our exploration of Kohelet. That's Ecclesiastes. Basically, the name meaning the one who speaks in the assembly is really what it means. It's kind of hard to translate. Okay, sorry, I had to deal with my chair there. So here are our notes from last time. In case you missed it, I think it was pretty interesting, and we had some good talks about the pretonic qamets rule, and we also talked a little bit about how the word asher, which we have all throughout the Tanakh, in later biblical Hebrew, can take on a prefix form as she, right? We have that example here. So asher can be she, which has survived even through to modern Hebrew dialect. And we reiterated the definite article rule, ha. And we showed how you can sometimes not have a preposition, but still imply the preposition. We did construct chains as usual. Had a few new words. And showed how the pretonic qamets rule can really just keep going, right? You've got the qamets before the tone, and then we put a plural, so he moves, and then you have a new qamets that's pretonic, and that can even change even further. So a lot of talk about how vowels can change. All right, so with this week's learning, let's start with a prayer. We're going to pray Psalm 3. So let's pray this together as our opening prayer, also from the khetuvim, from the writings. All right, so let's see here. Mizmor LeDavid, or LeDawiv, Levocho mipnei Avshalom beno, a psalm of David when he fled from before Avshalom, his son. Adonai, Marabu Tsarai, how multiplied are my adversaries. Rabim Kamim Alai, how numerous are those who stand against me. Rabim Omerim Lenafshi, how numerous are those who say regarding my life, or this can mean my life. Ein Yeshua Atalo. There is no Yeshua, no salvation, no victory for him. Ve'Elohim, from God. Selah. Ve'ata Adonai. Magen ba'adi. But you, O Adonai, are a shield in my life, or Magan, a suzerain in my duration. Kevodi umerim roshi, my glory, or my glorious one, you can also understand as a divine epithet. Umerim, and the one who lifts up roshi, my head. Koli el Adonai ekra, with my voice unto Adonai, I will call. Ekra. Very similar to Arabic, ikra, to read, to recite rather. V'ya'aneni, mehar kodsho, Selah. And he will answer me, or he answers me, mehar kodsho, from his holy mount, literally from the mountain construct of the holiness of him. Selah. Ani shachavti va'ishana. I myself laid down, and I slept. Hekitzoti, I woke up. Ki Adonai yismecheni, for Adonai sustains me, supports me. It could even be he has his hand on me. Lo ira merivot. We have a meteg situation here. That's why the vocal schwa. I will not fear from the multiplications, from the myriads, the tens of thousands of people. Asher saviv shatu alai, who are surrounded, set or taken a position, or their shafts alai against me. Kuma Adonai, Hoshi'eni, Elohai, ki hikita et kol oyevai lechi. Arise, O Adonai. Save me. Cause Yeshua ni from me, or give me the victory. O Elohai, my God. Ki hikita, predicative perfect. Oh, that you would nakah, that you would strike et kol, all of oyevai, my enemies. Lechi, on the cheek. Shimei reshaim shibarta. Oh, that the teeth of the wicked construct, shibarta, that you would utterly smash to pieces. Predicative perfect. L'Adonai ha'yeshua. To Adonai belongs the victory. Al amnecha vichatecha sela. Upon your people be your blessing. Sin. I hope you prayed that with me and felt the power of that psalm. I know we've done this one before, but this is what I felt the Ruach was saying that we should pray. So there it is. Maybe some of you are struggling with wicked people in your lives. Maybe there's people that pretend to be religious and they're causing you trouble even. Maybe they're true atheists or just truly reshaim, whatever the case may be. This is a very powerful psalm where we can connect with David HaMelech and understand how he was feeling when he prayed it. All right, let's get to our teaching. Here we are, continuing in Kohelet, which means like the congregationalist. I was thinking last time how to say it, and I said like preacher and this, and really congregationalist, I think would be that just came to mind now, would be the best way to, he's Kohelet, he's the one who operates within the kahal, within the synagogue in the Jewish Greek, in the synagogue, right? He's there in the synagogue, publicly speaking, right? This could even be a preformative idea of the rabbi, right? The role of the rabbi from days of old, right? Who's speaking and teaching in the synagogue and just speaking out the words. The rabbis of old, those guys who really deserve the title of rabbi. Nobody today really deserves this title. None of us really have what it takes, the kind of knowledge that those men of old, of Yamei Olam, days of yore, what they had. But that's what the Kohelet is. He's the congregationalist. Is kind of, I think that's a good way to translate it. All right, and we finished with verse 3. So here's Dalet, that's Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet. Number 4, look for the Sof Pasuk. There it is. And then we continue reading. This is Dalet. Do holeikh, ve'do ba, ve'ha'aretz le'olam, omadet. All right, so dor is a generation, and maybe I will, why not? Let's draw it there. Generation. Now, don't get confused because this word dor, there's another version of it, or some say, oops, I'm talking while writing. Some say another meaning of the same word that can have the meaning of to inhabit, to dwell. This comes to us probably from Jewish Aramaic. So if you're someone who likes to take detailed notes about what a word can mean, don't be surprised if you see this meaning like a habitation or something like that in another place, looking exactly the same. But most of the time, when we say dor, we are talking about a generation. Sometimes I just saw something very cool. Sometimes we say dor, the dor, generation and generation, or dor, le dor, generation to generation. This is an idiomatic phrase which means le'olam, forever, forever. And I just noticed, this is so cool, the poetry that's happening here. Let me zoom in a bit for you so you can see. Now take a look at this. Do, and we have something, vedo, generation and generation. Do you guys remember the poetic device that I shared with you that some of the master Hebrew poets would use, where it's called the breakup of stereotypic terms or stereotyped terms? Most often this happens with Adonai Elohim or Adonai Tzevaot, some title for Hashem that is very embedded in the Hebrew mindset. In poetry, sometimes will be broken up and you'll have words in between. And it's like a rubber band being stretched because it should be together, those terms. But they're being stretched. The poet stuffs some words in between that he wants to be tightly compacted. So he's using the stereotype term, Adonai Elohim, or some other term that we're used to hearing together, as a rubber band. He breaks them apart. He puts some words that he wants to be tightly pulled together. He's using those stereotype terms to pull it all together, to make it all more tightly compacted. You see? It doesn't have to be divine epithets. It can be other things. And I just noticed, I think that's happening here. Because look what we have. By virtue of Hebrew parallelism, we have le'olam, which means forever. The lamed is the for, and olam is ever and ever. And you might say, wait, but doesn't olam also mean world? Doesn't it also mean universe? That's true. Wait for it. Wait. In rabbinical Hebrew and later, right? So post biblical Hebrew, olam does take on another possible meaning. It never loses the meaning of forever, like eternity. It can always have that meaning, right? But there's a new game in its repertoire, so to speak. It also can mean world or universe, right? Kind of like how in Russian, Mir, like the space station Mir can mean world, but it can also mean peace, right? And of course, they're not going to name the space station world. They meant peace when they did. Right? It's a nice gesture. They called it peace, right? With the hope of peace. Of course, being used propagandistically that the evil Americans are going to do war or something. But nevertheless, so you can see, so you have the idea of world, but it also has this other nuance of peace. So in Hebrew, world eventually universe eventually, eternity eventually came to have this idea of universe, like the idea that it's a duration. We have another word that functions like this too, the Cheled, which is also a Persian Jewish woman's name, although I think Chal in that case, yeah, Chal. So Cheled is also a duration, and it's also a poetic name for the world. You find this in the Psalms, though, so you can kind of see this concept starting to work. Just like we have a couple of different words that can mean wait, and they can also mean like believe or hope, right? It happens with a few different words, the same kind of concept. You can see the concept starting to develop in the times of biblical Hebrew already of chelid, of the duration, also meaning the world. The idea is the duration, right? So time somehow being linked to matter, which is actually quite amazing when you think about it. The work of the great Jewish mind, Albert Einstein, Ashkenazi Jewish, okay, so a Jew, tying together how matter and time and light and everything they work together. And it's already kind of the preformatives of this coming bubbling up in the Hebrew language. Okay, I didn't mean to talk about all that. It just kind of came to mind. But back to what we're saying. We have a parallel here, le'olam, forever. And now look over here. We've got do. Skip this next word, vedo. That, my friends, I'm almost certain of it, is a stereotyped term. So let's mark it. This is the breakup of stereotyped terms. It is a poetic device being masterfully employed by the poet here. Now, I haven't seen this in a commentary on this particular section, but I have seen that in the Psalms many times pointed out by the great Mitchell Dahoud. I don't know if he comments or not on this particular verse in Kohelet. I don't think he has a book on Kohelet. So, but it applies here as well. Okay, so but now the idea still works, but there's a sandwiching happening here, right? So do holeikh. I was missing my pointer. A generation holeikh, active participle, goes. Right? In modern Hebrew, it sounds like a generation is walking. A generation is going, right? So a generation goes, the dor ba, and a generation comes. V'ha'aretz, but the earth or world, maybe world is better. And here we have it as a qamets, it's the T vowel. The reason is we expected just the flat vowel, the patach, but with the, you want to put the dagash in the first letter. Well, Aleph can't take a dagash. So we have a flat vowel, the short vowel, patach. The dagash comes down and adds this part to it. Right? It lengthens it. So we have compensatory lengthening. Because the Aleph can't be doubled, the short vowel patach becomes this long vowel khamets. Ah. Or O if you're doing Ashkenaz pronunciation. Ve'ha'aretz le'olam. Le'olam. But the world is, we need to supply is there probably. Le'olam. Le. For olam. Forever. Forever what? Omadet. This is from the word amad. Amad. Stand. The amad. Amad b'makom efo. Sorry. Stand in the place where you are. I'm not really sure who that band is. I can't remember. Is that something Speedwagon maybe, or is it REM? I have no idea. Anyway, if it helps you, great. If not, don't worry about it. So omadet. The word is actually omadet. So we just had a participle here, holeikh, and now we have a participle here, but a feminine, omadet. And omadet, because of the siluk, became omadet. Just like I have a call. All right, and we're back. So this guy is the culprit. So we would expect omadet. I usually write that one in cursive, so it's hard for me. Actually, there's not even space here. Let's do it over here. So you see here, usually omadet would be spelled this way, with the two segols, right? Omadet. She stands. Or in amudah, omadet, a pillar stands. But because of the saluk, this guy here, this accent, this strong accent, this lengthens it to to the long vowel. Okay. So this one plus the saluk yields khamets. And that is what is going on here. Hopefully you can see that okay. All right, that's the end of verse 4. Verse Hey, 5. Vezarach hashemesh. We just had shemesh last time as shamish because it was the last word. So ha shemesh became ha shamish, the same way as omadet became omadet. Vezarach hashemesh. Uva hashamish. Here he is. This is the other ta'am, the other sense sign, accent mark, cantillation mark, trope, it's called in Yiddish, whatever, that lengthens that vowel. So here we have the segol, and here he's lengthened okay? Don't have to know this. Not really important at all, okay? Just for those of you who like that stuff. So our verb is zarach. What a beautiful verb it is. Zarach is to shine, to shine. From this we get the very poetic and rare word in poetry, in Tehillim, zaricha, zaricha, which is sunshine or dawn. It can mean either of those things when the light is just coming up, the dawn, zaricha. So that is zarach is to shine. It's actually he shone. Okay, who's the subject? Ha shemesh. The shemesh, the sun. So zarach Zarach Hashemesh means the sun shone or the sun shined. But we have a trick. And you should be trying to say or think of these meanings or these things before I say them. So when I'm drawing it in color, let's do it this way. Maybe you try to think of it and remember it, right? You don't have to type if you don't want in the chat. That's fine. If you like to, also fine. But the Vav there, you should know by now, this is the Vav conversive. Or the Wow. In ancient times, it would have been called Vav. Sorry, hard to write on the edge because I'm out of places to put my hand. Yeah, it looks terrible, but whatever. So Vezarach Hashemesh, but the sun, so it was perfect, it shined, but now it's imperfect, shines. It's ongoing, but the sun shines, or and the sun shines. Uva Hashamash. Pardon me, Hashamish. Shamash is different. A Shamash is a servant, but Shamish is the sun. So here we have the verb the subject. With the article, the. So, ba shemesh means the sun came, which is also kind of nice. He's tying into the ba above in verse 4 as well. The vedor ba, and a generation comes, or a generation arrives. Okay. But we have the u. So instead of arrived the sun, vav conversive, and it didn't happen already. It's not perfect. It happens. Uva hashamesh, and the sun comes. Vezarach hashemesh, and the sun shines. Uva hashamesh, and the sun comes. Ve'el mkomo sho'eif zoreach hu sham. Ve'el, and unto mkomo. Makom was actually one of our Hebrew words of the day. I hope you guys learned that one. If you're new to the channel, check out that playlist, the word of the day or the Hebrew shorts. Makom means place, and O there. I like that. O is his, meaning the sun. So you probably want to say it's to make it sound right in English. And you'll notice it's mekomo instead of makom. Looky here, there's a little bit of weirdness happening. Right? So the word for place is makom. Okay. And you'll notice we have what we talked about recently, a pretonic qamets there. This guy. Okay. Now this qamets is just before the accent mark. See right there. Even though I had to add it, but you don't see an accent mark. It's usually at the end of the syllable in Hebrew, the last syllable, right? So makom. Remember what happens if you have a qamets, that's the name of this vowel, he's called qamets, Comets and Cupid and la la la. One of the reindeer, comets. If you move the accent by putting something at the end of the word, like making it a plural with im or ot, or putting a suffix at the end, like o, his, then that comets will reduce to a vocal schwa. And that's exactly what's happening here. See? The comment, the accent moved to here. That's what the little two dots on top are. That is not a schwa. That is a ta'am. It's just telling you, hey, here's the accent now. So it was makom, but it became mekomo. So he doesn't have time to be said with the full length anymore. He has reduced and said to a vocal schwa. The el mekomo, and onto the place of o, of him, sho'eif, zoreach. Okay? This is another active participle. So we have the holeikh, and then we had omadet, and now we have sho'eif. So the psalmist, pardon me, the Kohelet is using this form of the verb again and again and again. So sha'af is like to pant or to kind of tiredly do something, like to kind of, I don't know, schlof. it's, oh man, the Yiddish word escapes me. For sure somebody knows this. There's a great word in Yiddish, like you're gonna drag something somewhere, right? Or you're it means to go there, but you're expressing that it's a pain, right? Why can't I think of this? All right. Anybody in the comments know this Yiddish word? Oh yeah, I can't believe I can't think of it. It's such a common word. Anyway, it's like that. It's like he's almost like he really doesn't want to. He's got to do it anyway. So the el mkomo, and unto his place, sho'eif, he. Oh, it's on the tip of my mind. I'm sure you guys have heard it too. It's pretty common. Oh well. וזרח, another active participle, shining. Who? He or it, sham, there. And this is actually very nice. This shows, this is actually fine with science. The sun, it rises, the sun sets, right? That's one way to interpret it, it goes and it comes, right? It shines and it arrives. The el mekomo, and unto its place, kind of implying the place that we don't see where we're at. Sho'ef, he kind of drudges along. Schleps. Schlaf came to mind, but schleps, yeah, schleppen. He schleps. Zoreach, shining, hu sham, even there. The who is probably emphatic pronoun, even there, meaning where we don't see, i.e., the other side of the earth. So, very nice there. I think kind of a little internal proof that there's no ignorance thinking the earth is flat or something like this. Okay, good. That's a solid 33 minutes of instruction. I think that's all right. Maybe I'll just read it one more time through. Dor holeikh ve'dor ba ve'ha'aretz le'olam omadet וזרח shemesh ובא השמש ואל מקומו sho'eif זורח הוא שם. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. If you have any comments or questions, I'll hang out a bit longer. Keep up your studies. Don't be discouraged if Kohelet's kind of hard. The wisdom literature language can be a little bit strange. A lot of times, though, you can read it and you can understand. You just might miss out on some of the poetic stuff, on appreciating the poetic stuff that's happening in the background. So be encouraged. Be encouraged. And I will see you guys on Shabbat, hopefully. Shalom, shalom.